Bob Stern. I'm the treasurer of the Mateel. Many of you don't know me. I've only actually owned a home here in Southern Humboldt for about 5 years now, although I first came up here to help work on saving the Sinkyone wilderness in 1981. I've spent a great deal of time making the North Coast my home. As an environmental reporter for KPFA for the last 30 years, I've spent a lot of time up here covering environmental issues. That's not why I was recruited for this board, though. My history is 25 years in the income tax business. I was recruited for my specialization in numbers and understanding business and finance, and for my background in taxes. Sorry, I'm nervous. I'm not used to speaking in public. A few years ago, I realized my dream of moving up here, and I've been making this my home ever since. I joined the board about 3 years ago, and I was frankly struck by what seemed to me to be an odd relationship between the Mateel and Reggae on the River. The Mateel bore all the risks, put up all the money, People Productions managed everything, finances and operations, and I just found that a little bit odd. And there had never been an audit of the books. When Jimmy Dangler suffered his stroke and had to retire as treasurer of the Mateel and give up his job at Reggae, the board asked me to serve as treasurer, and I agreed to step up and do that. We hired Tanya Stapp because we felt that the board should not be in the business of running the business of the Mateel. The board's job is to set policy, provide fiscal and fiduciary oversight to the organization, and we thought it was imperative to hire an executive director to oversee a $3 million Reggae on the River production contract and to provide a diversification of funding for the organization and to run the staff in the hall. The board is fully behind Tanya Stapp. We think she's done an excellent job. Tanya Stapp is not out there on her own. She has the full faith and backing of the board of directors. And the staff. And the staff. When the board found itself in contract negotiations for a new production contract for Reggae on the River last year, we saw the opportunity to make some changes in the old Reggae contract so that things would be better controlled. New language was added to the contract to provide better financial reporting, better accounting practices, and reporting to the board from People Productions so that we could have a better handle on the finances and better manage our own budget and our own spending. But the real big difference in the new Reggae contract is pretty amazing to my way of thinking. Under the old contract, the Mateel put up all the money. No matter what it was, the Mateel spent the money out, and no money was put up by People Productions. Under the new contract, the long-term assets of the Mateel community of Reggae on the River are supposed to be paid for by People Productions. A lot has been made of the fact that a huge investment was made this year in site improvements. I thank People Productions for providing a rundown. There are sheets around saying how much was spent on site improvements. Site improvements at the new Dimmick Ranch site are capital assets of Reggae on the River. And contractually, they should have been paid for by People Productions and not by the Mateel. We believe that if capital costs are properly allocated and paid for, that we will actually turn out with a bunch of money, probably more than $245,000 that was budgeted for the Mateel for this year. We're supposedly going into mediation with People Productions. I'm sure this will be a seriously contentious issue. It's very clear to us that the long-term capital investment was not supposed to be paid for with our money, and that we'll be able to recover some of that money in that process. That's going to have to be worked out. But we're pretty clear that contractually, we shouldn't have had to spend all that money. A lot has been made that we didn't do any long-range planning for this huge site investment. We think that the language in the new contract was our way of spreading those costs out over the years. We think that was our prudence and our fiduciary responsibility. There's an agreement in the contract that those site improvements would then be rented back to the Mateel at a nonprofit rate by People Productions in such a way that those expenses don't affect any one reggae on the river year more than any other. Over on the wall over there are some sections from the old and the new contract which spell out the language saying what's going to happen with capital assets. You're welcome to go and look at it yourself and draw your own conclusions. I also wanted to reiterate that the reserves of $300,000 that were put aside prudently by past boards, as mentioned by Sally Fenn and Jim Fulton, who served on the board a few years ago, they said there was $300,000 put away. As Tanya mentioned, the place where those reserves went was making up the shortfall of 2 years of reggae budgets, not just one. Thanks.